On air, gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
the People's Channel?
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Good evening, welcome to The Late Show Live on what is a potentially momentous day for the history of the Middle East. We're going live to the White House, where President Donald Trump is speaking imminently next. Breaking on The Late Show Live tonight.
In introducing our Deputy Prime Minister, David Lammy, and before I do, please, we know how we all feel.
Shame on you, Deputy Prime Minister. That was the message from furious locals greeting David Lammy after yesterday's deadly attack on a synagogue. Tonight, we learn the terrorist was arrested and on bail for alleged rape, with shocking new claims emerging too about his father's support for Hamas. Also breaking tonight.
The promise of a new Middle East is so clearly within our reach. This is the closest we've ever come to real peace, not fake peace, not political.
Yes, fingers crossed. Breaking tonight. Hopefully peace in the Middle East. Donald Trump promised it. Now it looks like the president has delivered it. Hamas have tonight accepted his terms and said they'll release hostages, dead or alive. Plus,
I love you. Thank you. Head up, Mama Paul. Keep your head up. Love you too. Thank you so much. Keep your head up, Mama Paul. I will. Thank you so much.
also breaking tonight, Diddy Combs has been sentenced to, get this, 4 years in prison. We'll get live reaction on the case that's rocked showbiz in America for the last couple of years. We'll also be diving headfirst into the stories from tomorrow's newspapers, hours before they even hit the shelves. And of course, we're live in Washington, D.C., just yards from the White House, bringing you the stories America's talking about and that matter to you back home in Blighty, including this one.
You can tell me my time's over.
You may be the target of the
I'm not
FBI,
going anywhere.
but I am not afraid of you.
Mr. Chairman.
Well, we've seen how far he can be, but now FBI boss Kash Patel reportedly has sacked an agent, a trainee, for flying a gay pride flag on his desk in the office. And in other news tonight,
her name was Kitty, made her money being pretty and witty. They gave her the keys to this city.
the world's biggest pop star does it again, but do you care? Taylor Swift's latest album sends fans into an absolute frenzy with chart domination all but guaranteed. I'm Ben Leo, this is The Late Show Live, and your night's just getting started. Evening, thank you for your company. Hope you're well. Great to see you. Some breaking news to bring you. President Donald Trump has been delivering an address from the Oval Office at the White House after Hamas finally agreed to his peace deal in Gaza. Let's take a listen to what he's been saying tonight.
Qatar, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan, and so many others. So many people fought so hard. This is a big day. We'll see how it all turns out. We have to get the final word down and concrete. Very importantly, I look forward to having the hostages come home to their parents and having some of the hostages, unfortunately, you know the condition they're in, come home likewise to their parents, because their parents wanted them just as much as though that young man or young woman were alive. So I just want to let you know that this is a very special day, maybe unprecedented in many ways. It is unprecedented, but thank you all, and thank you all to those great countries that helped. We were given a tremendous amount of help. Everybody was unified in wanting this war to end and seeing peace in the Middle East, and we're very close to achieving that. Thank you all, and everybody will be treated fairly.
And just to bring you some more breaking news, in the past couple of moments, our Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, has said Hamas acceptance of the US peace plan is a, quote, significant step forwards. He strongly supports President Trump's efforts, which have brought us closer to peace in the Middle East than ever before. And alongside the UK's partners, they stand ready to support further negotiations to work towards what they call sustainable peace for Israelis and Palestinians alike. President Trump, Prime Minister Starmer is calling on all sides to implement the agreement without delay very, very promptly. And this is, for me, viewers, this is a bombshell moment, because not only could it be another win for President Trump, stopping yet another war, hopefully that's the result of this development today. I argue that this massive pro-Palestine action march in London later on today, on Saturday, shouldn't go ahead anymore. The hostages will be released, dead or alive, and as I just mentioned to Patrick, I've got a slight concern about the hostages who will be alive, because I'm concerned about what Hamas will do to them before releasing them. What's to stop them from killing them? That's a bypoint. But secondly, Hamas will be out of Gaza. They'll hand over control to the Palestinian Authority. And Trump has told Israel tonight, stop bombing Gaza. So from my point of view, in my mind, why does there need to be a massive march in London later today? Unless, of course, you just want to go Jew bashing, because in actual fact, the whole point of your march in the first place wasn't about getting peace in Gaza. It's because you've got a problem with Jews. Well, I'm joined in the studio now by journalist Hilary Fordwich, a fellow Brit. Hilary, welcome along. Thank you. What's your take on this breaking news this evening? It seems like a pretty momentous moment for the Middle East.
Yes, and welcome back to the US. I know you've flown back. You must be exhausted. I'm amazed you can say anything at all straight. But what's really serious is, I think, first of all, that President Trump, like you said, yet again, he's actually wanting a peace agreement. He is the president of peace. And I think this is absolutely tremendous news, with the concern, of course, obviously about those hostages. But with regard to that march, if nothing else, it should be out of respect for what's just happened in Manchester, that it should be halted.
Yeah, I mean, they've got absolutely no respect. I've gone down to plenty of pro-Palestine action marches in my time. Maybe we've got some clips later on in the show. They are the most vicious, toxic, disrespectful people going in the UK. They don't give a damn about the Jews.
Absolutely.
Hilary, thank you. Moving back on to issues in the UK. Big question tonight. Actually, it had me pondering on the plane over here, back from the UK. Can you ever recall Sir Keir Starmer, our Prime Minister, uttering the word Islamist or Islamic extremist since he took power in July last year? Because tonight, I'm afraid to say, the United States, this side of the pond, is openly ridiculing Britain. Responding to a post about the Manchester terror attack, the US Department of Homeland Security posted on X earlier today, "Want to help keep jihad out of America?" before posting a link to a recruitment ad for immigration agents and so-called homeland defenders. Goodness me, don't we need a few of those? Well, that's what it's come to, hasn't it? Being openly mocked, rightly in my view, by our strongest ally for our failure to get hold of radical Islam. Not only was the Manchester attacker called jihad, which is a joke in the first place, it's also reported tonight that he was on bail, accused of rape, when he carried out his attack in Manchester. And just as a reminder to viewers and listeners, Lucy Connolly was refused bail, but a guy called Jihad, accused of rape and potentially other stuff which we can't yet confirm and report on tonight, is allowed to somehow walk the streets of Britain a free man. So try and rack your brains, viewers and listeners. When was the last time Keir Starmer called out radical Islam? Because he's all too happy to bang on about Tommy Robinson and the so-called far right. But radical Islam has been the biggest national security threat to our country for decades. The MI5 watch list is full of would-be jihadis, 40,000 of them being watched by our spooks. And let's remind ourselves, shall we, about radical Islam and the UK over the decades. The Liverpool hospital bomber in 2021, the murder of Sir David Amess the same year, the 2020 Reading stabbings, the 2020 Streatham knife rampage, the London Bridge stabbings in 2019, the London Bridge stabbings in 2017, which I was at, the Westminster Bridge attack the same year, the Manchester Arena bombing in 2017, the 2015 Leytonstone tube attack, the 2013 savage murder of Lee Rigby in Woolwich. God bless you, Lee. The 2007 London and Glasgow bomb plot. The 2005 London bombing, 7/7. Let's go to Europe, shall we? Let's go across the channel. The Bastille Day massacre in France, Charlie Hebdo, the Bataclan, the Madrid train bombings. I could go on. So I ask again, when are our governments of all colours going to get real about radical Islam and stop gaslighting us about the so-called far right? And it's fair to say the public's had enough, because earlier today in Manchester, the Deputy Prime Minister, David Lammy, was met with heckles.
In introducing our Deputy Prime Minister, David Lammy, and before I do, please.
Palestine! Shame on you! Shame on you! Go to Palestine! Leave us alone!
Dear oh dear. And by the way, just as a comment on that, where is Keir Starmer, our so-called leader, our Prime Minister? Surely you should be leading from the front, being down there and taking the flak, not sending David Lammy. Meanwhile, in London, pro-Palestine marches will still go ahead later today. That's despite the police urging they'll be cancelled in the wake of the attack. And in more breaking news tonight, 3 more people, a man and 2 women, have been arrested in relation to the Manchester terror attack. That brings the total number of people held on suspicion of preparing acts of terrorism to 6. And GB News can also exclusively reveal this evening that the father of the attacker, Faraj al-Shami, has also described Israel as a terrorist state on his Facebook profile, where he made regular posts on the civil war in Syria and the Israel-Hamas war. Mr al-Shami said in his post on October the 7th, 2023, that the attack by Hamas in Israel had proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that Israel would not remain. The Telegraph has translated another post on October the 10th, just days later, that appeared to question why Hamas was not being supported by Arab nations. And according to the newspaper, the father wrote, "Where is this so-called resistance with the Haifa rockets? May God's curse be upon the hypocrites, the traitors pledged to a disgusting and filthy sectarian agenda. The moment of truth is inevitably coming." In a Facebook post on al-Shami's account today, distancing from the family from the attack, he described it as a heinous act. It reads, "The news from Manchester regarding the terrorist attack targeting a Jewish synagogue has been a profound shock to us. The al-Shami family in the UK and abroad strongly condemns this heinous act, which targeted peaceful, innocent civilians. We fully distance ourselves from this attack and express our deep shock and sorrow over what has happened. Our hearts and thoughts are with the victims and their families, and we pray for their strength and comfort." GB News has approached Mr al-Shami for comment regarding his posts about Hamas, Israel and the October the 7th attacks. Well, let's get more with former Conservative MP Louise Mensch, who joins us live from New York once again. Louise, good evening. Thanks for your company. Good to see a fellow Brit. So much to unpack. First of all, what's your take on the situation in Manchester? I mean, do you agree with me that Keir Starmer and Labour have been banging on about the so-called far right so much that they've totally eclipsed radical Islam?
Yes, I do. And I think not only has the term far right lost all meaning at this stage in Britain, as you said, you have to contrast it with their total silence on radical Islam. We're not just talking Islam, we're talking about radical Islam, Islamic extremist terror. He said nothing. And I think, as you also point out, he didn't even turn up. He sent the deeply unimpressive David Lammy, who is not exactly seen as a friend of the Jewish people by the Jewish people in Britain. He sent him down there to do the dirty work and not go and face the crowd when he recently recognized Palestine, which many of us, Jewish and Gentile, will see as a reward for terror. And look at this prince, Yihad. He did what he said on the tin, didn't he? That's exactly what he did. And as well as being on bail for rape, he declared himself, for example, to be a full-time father. He was on benefits, he wasn't working. The family got a lovely council house from Great Britain, and this is how they repaid us. As to the doctor dad trying to distance himself from his son's actions and calling them heinous, on the one hand, he does that because it's what Jewish civilians at a mosque. Who was being killed in the October the 7th attacks? Was it the IDF? No, it wasn't. It was Jewish kids at a music festival. It was little babies being slaughtered in front of their parents. It was nothing but civilians. There is precisely no difference between the two attacks except scale. And because two very brave Jewish guys stood up against this guy, more people didn't die, thank God. But that is the only difference, scale.
Louise, I have been wondering who the hell at the Home Office looked at this guy's, well, he was a child at the time in 2006, looked at the application for asylum, saw that he was called Jihad and didn't A, question his name, or B, look into maybe his parents at the time. I mean, am I over-egging this? I mean, surely it would have passed someone's brain, no, that there's a bit of concern here about even the child's name and the sort of the thinking of the parents, no?
I don't know about the child's name, but I think once you've got people openly praising the terrorist attacks of October 7th, that's what should have triggered a wider look at the family, perhaps, I think, and that the kid was named Jihad. It's not exactly a good sign, is it? But I think you pointed out the scale of the problem. You gave off a litany of appalling terrorist attacks caused by radical Islamic extremists, and then you said, what was it, 40,000 people? How the hell is MI5 supposed to cope with those numbers? I think we have to look at the cultural problem that we do have, and we do have a cultural problem of people saying this is okay, excusing terror, glorifying violence, and although I don't think there was a two-tier standard with Lucy Connolly because unfortunately she pled guilty, which she probably shouldn't have done, what we aren't doing is we aren't looking at the statements that arise, that they manufacture hatred towards the Jews, for example. We never prosecute any of those, do we? And I think the Jewish community might be forgiven for asking, where is the prosecution of the people that praised the October the 7th attacks? Where's their prosecutions for stirring up racial hatred? Nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, well, as I said, I don't recall. I'll happy to be corrected, but I can't find anywhere that Keir Starmer's mentioned the word Islamist or radical Islam once since taking power in July last year. Louise, whilst I've got you, it seems rude not to ask you. I want to get your reaction to the breaking news about the Conservative Party, Kemi Badenoch, pledging to leave the ECHR if it wins the next election. That's according to an announcement tonight ahead of the conference in Manchester. I mean, Kemi took her time on this, didn't she? Is it a surprise, really?
It's a little bit of a surprise. She should be saving it for conference in a way, but what I would ask her to do is to go a step further, because getting out of the EHCR is a necessary but not sufficient condition. What we've also got to do is abolish the Human Rights Act, which is what judges used to make law. I used to call it the Legislate from the Bench Act, because judges can do whatever they like with it. That's got to go as well, and what she should be announcing is a comprehensive programme of getting rid of these laws that allow activist judges to let any immigrants who want stay just because they say they want to or because they desire to do so, and to bring in all of their families. We've just seen President Trump really achieve something big today, and I say that as a long-time opponent of his. He has achieved something massive this evening. Is it a done deal? No, but he's got further than anybody else, and how did he do it? Through strength and determination and just a refusal to accept nonsense from either side of the conflict. He's told Hamas, you have to release these hostages. He's told Israel, stop bombing. We need a bit of that kind of strength and decisiveness from Kemi, and we need to hear her say, not just we'll get out of the EHCR, good, that's great, but let's get rid of all the laws that are forcing us to keep these people in our country. That's what the voters want to hear, Kemi.
Yeah, and Louise, just briefly in 20 seconds or so, because we've got to move on, unfortunately, but what's your take on the pro-Palestine Action March in London later today? I mean, this deal isn't done, but it looks pretty promising, right, in Gaza between, Trump and Israel and so on. As you said, Trump has told Israel to stop bombing, hostages are coming back, hopefully we have some progress. Should this march in London tomorrow, Saturday, go ahead still?
I don't trust Palestine Action at all, even out of all of the pro-Palestinian people. I think they've got very deep ties to Russia. And what's the point of protesting something that is no longer happening? If Shabana Mahmoud wants to display some strength, now is the prime opportunity. Ban this march, say that it can't happen. The Metropolitan Police shouldn't be begging and pleading for respect. They should impose it.
Louise, thank you so much. Really enjoyed speaking to you. I could do it for 2 hours or so, but hopefully we'll catch up again next week. Louise Mensch, former Tory MP, live from New York. Any of your sayers going on? Stuart, you said this lunatic wasn't on MI5's watch list. Most of them aren't, so the real number's vastly more than 40k. Ruthlessly remove every last one and their extended families. Feels like it's getting to that point, doesn't it? You push people so far and you get extreme reactions. Maybe that's not such an extreme reaction. Keep your thoughts coming in. gbnews.com/ Your Say, still ahead on The Late Show Live.
Her name was Kitty, made her money being pretty and witty. They gave her the keys to this city.
I am so excited for this album, absolutely buzzing. Taylor Swift's 12th studio album called The Life of a Showgirl. Hilary knows I'm being a little bit sarcastic here. It's finally dropped, apparently, and it's already set to shake up the charts. But first, a story you don't want to miss.
You can tell me my time's over.
You may be the target.
I'm not going anywhere.
But I am not afraid of you.
Mr. Chairman.
There he is. We've already seen him in action and how heated he can get. FBI Director Kash Patel, when he's in the room, especially in Congress, taking on the Dems, but he's making headlines again. It's to do with an FBI trainee. Something's happened. I won't tell you why. Stick around on The Late Show Live, and I'll tell you in just a tick.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to The Late Show Live with me, Ben Leo. One very quick comment from you on gbnews.com/you'll say. It's from Jackie Briggs, who's a member. Jackie, thank you for staying up with me. You said, knowing the current DEI recruiting process, MI5 and MI6 are probably already riddled with leftists and Islamists. It's probably tongue-in-cheek, but actually it's a good segue onto our next story, because the Trump administration's war on woke has claimed another victim in the last couple of days, because FBI Director Kash Patel has fired a trainee agent for displaying a gay pride flag on their desk in the office. That's despite them having an otherwise strong performance record. In a letter, Kash Patel said, "After reviewing the facts and circumstances and considering your probationary status, I've determined that you exercise poor judgment with an inappropriate display of political signage in your work area during your previous assignment in the Los Angeles field office." But critics are arguing this is yet another overreach in a broader purge of staff at the FBI, and that's after others were dismissed for involvement in Black Lives Matter protests as well. So is it right that the government agencies are enforcing strict neutrality, banning all flags and symbols, or maybe is it a bit too much? I know where I stand on this, but I'm going to get the thoughts now by Adam Weiss, host on TV network with America's Voice, and also Charles Correll-Booley, the radio host and LGBT activist. Good evening to you both. Thank you for your company. Who should we start with? Charles, let's start with you. I argue I don't care who you sleep with or what you do in your private life. Nobody at work cares either. So Kash Patel's got a point. No, just focus on the job in hand.
Well, first of all, it's Correll, and good morning. It's amazing to me that we're having this discussion for something that occurred 2 years ago. Let's remember that this person does not have the pride flag on their desk now. This is not something, you know, they weren't sitting there
well, the story's only just come out, hasn't it? It's only been reported in the last 24 hours. That's why we're talking about it.
Yes, no. I understand why we're talking about it now, but Kash Patel is firing someone for something they did 2 years ago under the Biden administration. And so 2 years ago, he had a pride flag on his desk. Somehow that got back to the powers that be. And now he is in a new assignment, no pride flag on his desk, according to all reports, but was in fact fired for what he did 2 years ago for having bad judgment for a, quote, political message. The gay pride flag is not a political message. It's a humanitarian one. Gays come in all shapes, sizes, and political ideologies. There are gays for Donald Trump. There are gay conservatives, just like in the UK. There are gay conservatives. There are gay liberals. Being gay or lesbian does not, you're not any particular political party. We are not a political party. We are simply a group of people who share, things that we then are proud of.
Yeah. Okay. I just don't care who you sleep with. I mean, that's the matter of the facts. Adam, what's your take on this? It was 2 years ago. Why should he be sacked for something that happened 2 years ago?
Look, the pendulum swings one way so far, and that's why elections have consequences. Joe Biden had a guy, an employee, Sam Brinton, who used to go to work in a dress, and people said, "What's this? What are you hiring someone for?" It was over the nuclear codes. Meanwhile, he was stealing luggage at airports, he finally got fired for that. So. Do I know, somebody that's having something at his desk 2 years ago, we might be going a little too far. I'm not sure what exactly the employee handbook says. Maybe you should give him a warning. Maybe you should give him a strike. I don't want to be like the other side and just, axe everybody for making mistakes. Look, culture was moving so fast. Hollywood, culture, the media was pushing this, propaganda, LGBT so fast. So somebody that's just not in the weeds of politics might have just thought it's the right thing to do, because they hear the echoes of everywhere else in culture. And I would side on better off giving them a strike or, some sort of evaluation instead of a firing.
Yeah. Adam, are you proud when you see the likes of Secretary of War Pete Hegseth calling out generals for being fat and saying that the time of trans woke ideology, all this nonsense is over? I think he said something like that SHIT is finished with. Are you proud when you hear that kind of rhetoric from your government?
Are you asking me?
I think a decade ago it wasn't like that.
Just for Adam quickly, they'll come to you.
I think we wouldn't even have a discussion 7-8 years ago. All of a sudden it was pushed so fast, standards didn't matter. We wanted to push DEI so hard that we ended up having fat people. We ended up getting rid of training methods, all sorts of shortcuts to bring in diversity. Good for him if he wants to standards in the military. It is the military. We want the best fighting force in the world.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I find it amusing that a person that can't. I find it amusing that a person that can't do 2 pull-ups on his own, and a commander-in-chief that is so bloated and overweight that his legs veins have given out, are talking about fitness. But let's go back to the statement about fast-tracking DEI. And pushing the gay agenda in everybody's face. I am a 62-year-old gay man. My entire life, I have had the heterosexual agenda pushed into my face, whether I liked it or not. Every television ad, every
What's the heterosexual agenda? What is that?
Every image that we see in media up until the last maybe 5 or 10 years was heterosexual couples. There was no gay representation in media, on television ads, on television shows, and gay people exist. They are, a large portion, well, anywhere from 8 to 12%, depending upon what you look at. But they are a portion of society. They are our family members. They're our brothers, our sisters, our fathers, our mothers. They exist. And so the notion that there's been some accelerated push to get representation when there was no representation is ridiculous. That's just ridiculous. Because from a gay standpoint, we have heterosexual imagery in our faces all the time. So all they were trying to do was catch up.
We have laws in some
Adam,
of the
last word
states.
to you.
We have laws in some of the states like California. Kids can transition, and the governor legislature signed it for them. Little kids, they're forced not to tell the parents. That's how much we pushed trans or LGBT agenda in some of the states in the United States.
But why is that any of your business or mine? These are medical decisions between families, their doctors, their God.
The law was they don't tell the parents. Shouldn't it be between the parents, the school, and their child?
Depends on the parental situation. If the child is going to be beaten, abused, or abandoned, or pressured into something like suicide or pushed into conversion therapy, there might be a good reason to not tell the parents. That's a case-by-case basis.
Charles, do you know what we need to wrap, unfortunately, but my view on all of this is I don't care if you're gay, straight, trans, whatever. I don't want my kids, if anybody came to my child who's about to be 6 years old and wanted to talk to them about sexual relationships, whether it's heterosexual ones, gay ones, I don't care. Let children be children. I don't want children exposed to sexual relationships of any matter, of any kind.
But how does that speak to the firing of a person for a pride flag 2 years ago? How does your 6-year-old play into that?
Because we've got to move on. But my answer to that, Charles, is that you're there to do a job. You're there to protect America. Nobody cares where you put your junk in your private time. That's it. It doesn't matter.
So if it was a MAGA hat, would you have been okay with it? If it was a MAGA hat, would you have been good with it?
No, I wouldn't. No. I wouldn't advocate wearing a MAGA hat in the FBI office. No, I wouldn't.
That's fair. That's great. That's a good position.
Right, we've got to go. Thank you both for your time. Really appreciate your company. Hopefully we'll speak soon. Charles Carrel-Boulet, a radio host and LGBT activist, and of course the host on Real America's Voice, Adam Wace. Thank you very much. Let us know what you think. gbnews.com/your say. Right, let's move on, shall we? Coming up on The Late Show Live, just when you thought you'd seen the end of taking the knee. Oh, do you remember that 5 years ago? It could be about to make a return to football. And look who's taking it. Oh, it's Keir Starmer and Angela Rayner. One of them's gone at least. Maybe Keir Starmer on the left needs to follow suit very, very shortly. The Church of England has a new archbishop. What does President Trump's pastor make of her? We'll be speaking to the president's pastor very shortly of our new bishop to replace Welby. I mean, if you thought Welby was bad, get a load of this one. This is The Late Show Live, only on GB News.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Stephen Dixon, and thanks for joining us on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It is my deep privilege to have shared ministry with you for almost 8 years. It has not been easy to accept that I will be leaving you.
Well, there we go. If you thought you couldn't have got woker than Justin Welby, think again, because that's our new Archbishop of Canterbury speaking a little earlier following her appointment, but she's already facing her first crisis of faith with the public. I'll explain why a bit later on. But for now, let's take a look at some of the newspaper front pages hitting the shelves in the UK tomorrow. The Daily Mail leads on David Lammy, and isn't he a high-grade Deputy Prime Minister, being confronted at the Manchester synagogue vigil where he was accused of having blood on his hands. Lammy told, "You have blood on your hands." That's the headline. Also, Kemi Badenoch exclusive. Down the bottom, "I will free Britain from human rights straitjacket." That's her pledge ahead of the Tory conference to leave the ECHR. The Guardian leads with revelations that the synagogue terrorist in Manchester was on bail for alleged rape, raising urgent questions for police and ministers. And also the new female Archbishop, who we just heard from there, says hatred must not tear communities apart. That kind of language doesn't mean anything. It's word salad. Hatred must not tear communities apart. Tell it to the communities killing Jews with knives and running people down on Westminster Bridge and London Bridge and Madrid and the Bataclan and Charlie Hebdo. Tell that to those communities. They are the communities spreading hatred. The Daily Mirror praises the hero rabbi Daniel Walker, who looked evil in the face. It's an astonishing interview from the rabbi, actually. His sort of heartfelt description of the terrorist and the events that unfolded in Manchester. God forbid, I don't wish that on anybody. The Washington Post, this side of the pond, leads on Hamas saying they will accept President Donald Trump's ceasefire proposal, but only with certain conditions. It came, of course, after Trump threatened to completely obliterate Gaza if they didn't accept it by 6 p.m. on Sunday. And the New York Post, this side of the pond as well, reports that Sean Diddy Combs stood frozen like a statue as a judge ordered him to serve just 4 years and 2 months in prison over prostitution offences. 4 years, maybe he'll be out a bit sooner. I was kind of bracing myself for, I don't know, decades. That's how it was kind of being spun in the last couple of years. Well, let me know your thoughts on those front pages by visiting gbnews.com/yoursay. I'm delighted to be reunited in London with the former editor of the Sunday Express and my former colleague at the Sun, David Wooding. David, hope you're well, my friend. What's your fancy on the front pages this morning? What would you like to get stuck into?
Well, there's only one story really. It's the events in North Manchester 48 hours ago, and it's interesting to see how the papers have covered it in different ways. As you've just pointed out, the Daily Mail is going for the jeers of Lammy now. I watched the footage of that on the TV. The Deputy Prime Minister really feeling the anger of the crowd, not just the Jewish people in Manchester, but other people who've gone there to pay the respects, the whole community, about what's happened. And they're laying the blame clearly at the door of the government. Now, the guy who was involved in this named Jihad, of course. He was became a British citizen in 2006, which was towards the end of Tony Blair's year as Labour Prime Minister. And it's felt that he opened the floodgates, to use that phrase, to mass migration. And there was a story, you may even remember at the time, Ben, where one of the advisors, Andrew Neither, boasted afterwards that he liked involving in carrying out mass immigration because it was rubbing the noses of the right into diversity. And of course, people now feel, well, perhaps the damage is already done. We can stop the boats, these illegal migrants who are entering across the English Channel. We can stop migration by cutting down on visas, and we can cut migration legally. But there are people already among us who we don't know what they're going to turn into or what they already are and what the festering hatred is.
Salman Abedi in Manchester as well. We gave his family refuge from Libya. And what does he do? He goes and blows up loads of school children. Thanks very much. Thanks for your loyalties. Some assimilation going on there. David, can I ask you why Keir Starmer wasn't present at the vigil today? Why did he send David Lammy out as cannon fodder? What kind of leader does that?
I suspect he may well have known that there was feelings bubbling up there. He did go and with his wife to the scene, but he wasn't involved in that making a little speech, which David Lammy got caught up in. So, I mean, you see this from time to time where the government gets a bit of stick from the public during election time and whatever, but this government is really unpopular. It's been in power for 15 months. And it's the most unpopular government since the Second World War. In the polls, they are tanking. Keir Starmer is not seen as a capable Prime Minister. And that's not me saying that. That's what the polls are showing. Most people are very, very disappointed with this government. And of course, all it's doing is driving the Conservatives are in a state of flux as well, because they've just come out of 14 years of rule. They've got a new leader who doesn't seem to be making any impact, which is always difficult in the first year for any leader of the opposition. But Nigel Farage, the leader of Reform, is doing all the talking and getting all the attention.
Yeah, of course, David, the polls say that Labour are struggling. You've said it's the worst or the most unpopular government in so many decades. But, I mean, they would argue if they were here I don't know, what would they argue? But it's difficult. They'd say that they've got trade deals with the United States. They say deportations are up 30 to 40,000, I guess. They'd say they're fixing the foundations of the Tory economy. Cost of living's going down. They've got GB Energy. I mean, yeah, I'm just trying to provide some balance.
You're right, Ben. They have been telling us they've been clearing up the mess. But, you know, my experience in covering politics shows me that only works for a few months. The honeymoon period is when you can blame all the problems on the previous government, whatever colour you are. But now people are sick of that now. They've had enough. They've heard that enough. We're clearing up the mess left behind by the Tories. People are seeing it as, well, actually, the mess is even worse now. Taxes have gone up. These incidents are happening. And there are marches on the street every day, virtually every weekend by, we call them hate marches. People are going out there and positively antagonising the Jewish community, and people feel that he hasn't got a grip. The other thing they feel about this government is that he's not got charisma. Keir Starmer doesn't have the charisma of, say, Boris Johnson or Tony Blair. So and doesn't seem to have given anybody any vision about where he wants to take us. He seems to be more of a managerial Prime Minister who is doing the job, sitting down at his desk with his pen. What should we do about, where do you want to take us, Prime Minister? Well, I want to get the NHS waiting lists down. I want to stop illegal migration. I want to do this and I want to do that. But because there's not a vision about where he sees Britain at the end of his term.
Yeah, talking of NHS waiting lists, I think that probably is one achievement they've had. I mean, they threw loads of money to junior doctors, and I think the waiting lists are coming down, which is good. So, yeah, tick, well done, Labour. Also, you've got the one in, one out deal with the migrants as well. What some would say 1 in 75 out or whatever. David, thank you very much. Appreciate your company, and we'll catch up next week. David Wooding, former editor of the Sunday Express and my former colleague at the Sun newspaper. Joining me in the studio now is political commentator Hilary Fordwich and the Democrat strategist and former spokesperson for a one Barack Barack Obama, Federico de Jesus. Federico, welcome along. How are you? Good to see you. What's your take on what's happening in the UK in the past couple of days with the terror attack? And also, a big question for you. You get lots of pro-Palestine marches this side of the pond, right, in DC and so on?
Yeah. There have been pro-Israel ones too, but not as many.
Sure. As we are on the cusp now, tonight, potentially, of a peace deal in Gaza, President Trump's announced it. He's told Israel to stop bombing Gaza. The hostages will return, dead or alive. Seems like we're very, very close. Should these marches, these protests continue? Surely they've got what they wanted, no?
Well, I know that the concept of freedom of speech, which is evolving in this country, is viewed differently in Europe and definitely in the UK. My point of view is that as long as you're not inciting violence, people should express whatever they want. The question is, what does the government do policy-wise? Obviously, without knowing all of the details, if the government let someone loose that committed a terror attack, that's obviously horrible. My son's Jewish. I'm against anti-Semitism in any form, but I'm also in favor of freedom of speech. Again, as long as you're not inciting violence.
Are you a free speech absolutist? So anything goes?
No, you can't, threaten to shoot the president or yell fire in a theater. But, for the most part, political speech shouldn't be policed as long as you don't incite violence.
Okay. Hillary, talking about these marches, so there's a massive one taking place, of course, as we discussed, in London later today on Saturday. Thousands of people are going to be out in support of Palestine Action, which is a group. They're now prescribed in the UK. They're a terrorist group in the UK, so I suspect lots of them are going to be getting nicked, although the Met Police are going to be under pressure. I wanted to share with you a very quick clip of the calibre of person that attends this march. This was me with the pro-Palestine Action protesters in, I think it was August, as a quick reminder. Take a look at this.
Guys, do you fancy a chat on TV News? No. Why are you blocking me off? Very strange. Why are you protesting? You don't want to talk? Why are you supporting a prescribed terrorist organisation? Can you say? Anyone fancy a chat? You're all standing on the street protesting. Anyone like to have an open discussion?
He's just media.
Why are you supporting a prescribed terrorist organisation and covering your face?
Very curious clip. It sounds like I've been puffing on a helium balloon now. I sound very high-toned. No. Anyway, that's the kind of calibre you get. They turn up, they don't want to discuss it, and they call for intifada and so on. Are we going to see an end to these marches now?
Well, you sound high-toned because I remember seeing that. You were actually getting really, really, really frustrated because you were trying to speak to them. And I think that they're not going to necessarily be peaceful. They're not out there for peace. We've seen that every single protest that has taken place. And I do agree, obviously, with the ability, and obviously free speech is very important, but not when it incites violence. And every single one of these protests has resulted in violence, and they advocate for violence.
Federico, earlier today, the Department for Homeland Security in the US, which for viewers back home, it's pretty much our home office, they mocked the UK by pretty much saying, if you don't want jihad in America, click this link to sign up for our recruitment for Homeland Defenders, they call them. And I love the name. We need plenty of those back home. But do you get the feeling now that Britain, potentially, when it comes to jihad, Islamist extremism, we've had scores of terror attacks across Europe in recent years. Do Americans look at the UK now as a kind of as a weak link to Islamic extremism?
Not necessarily. I think that one thing is, and this is horrible, that you have a lot of knives being used and blades killing people. That's horrible. There's so many shootings in this country. The synagogue incident is obviously horrible. But what would you expect the government to do other than not prevent this person from leaving jail? But in terms of combating Islamism, as you call it, like terrorism is what we need to combat. And I think that the UK has much laxer laws than the US in terms of privacy and actually combating terrorist operations. So what is it that you think that the UK should be doing that they're not doing?
Well, not letting in 50,000 undocumented strange men from faraway lands.
So they're all terrorists?
Federico, I'd argue if one is a terrorist, that's too many.
Well, then do the proper background
why are they
checks and
coming
don't
in
let
illegally?
in
Anyway,
the
it's like an invasion. We would never have let the Nazis in like this.
And also, Federico, the guy who committed, great point, Hillary, the guy who committed this atrocity in Manchester a few days ago was a British citizen we let in, gave asylum to.
So then this isn't an immigration
So
issue.
it's not just, it is immigration. Why? I mean,
so they
the
didn't
guy
do
was
the
called
proper
Jihad.
background checks. So do the...
Why are we letting people in called Jihad for starters?
Well, that actually means fighting violence.
Yeah.
It's actually a name you give your child. Violent name.
gbnews.com/your say. Let us know what you think on that. Yeah, plenty of comments to get through. I'll save them until after the break, because still ahead on the Late Show Live, the Church of England has a new Archbishop of Canterbury. Well, hey, we'll speak to President Trump's pastor to find out his take. If he thought it was going to be an improvement on Justin Welby, who, of course, slammed the Rwanda plan, was very pro-green, think again. I'll tell you more in just a tick on the Late Show Live, only on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to the Late Show Live. Hallelujah, Taylor Swift has a new album out.
Her name was Kitty, made her money being pretty and witty. They gave her the keys to this city.
All right, let's get the thoughts of Nelson Aspen joining me live from New York, the award-winning entertainment journalist. Nelson, this, I hear, is a very, very big deal. The world is excited, everybody apart from me, apparently. But tell me why everybody is so excited and why this is such a big occasion.
Well, it's her 12th studio album, The Life of a Showgirl, and she is the hardest working and most successful female musician probably in history. Forbes just estimated her personal net worth at $1.6 billion. This was highly anticipated, especially in light of her recent engagement. So people wanted to see how much of her personal life she put into the music. And it's a new side of Taylor, and unquestionably the raunchiest side. And globally, Swifties ranging from schoolgirls to seniors were clamoring like a perverted version of Beatlemania. They were lining up and down the streets of all the cities all around the world. And then let me start you with some of the statistics. So it got a perfect score. The album got a perfect score of 100 from Rolling Stone. To date, it is Spotify's most streamed album in a single day for the year. It tops Apple Music in over 100 countries, and New York Times gave it a critic pick. However, I wanted to do a deeper dive into what her fans themselves had to think about it. And while there are certainly many who can think she can ever do any kind of wrong, some of the adjectives I came across for the songs were boring, cheesy, juvenile, mediocre, and my favorite, I think, is claustrophobically inward. So maybe the gamble of going raunchy was maybe not the smartest choice.
Well, thank you for that honest assessment. I mean, plenty of people like her, of course. I've never got it. I don't understand Taylor Swift. I'll ask my panel shortly afterwards as well. And just very briefly, in 20 seconds, Nelson, P. Diddy's been given a sentence. What is it? How long?
4 years and 2 months. Consider the fact that he has already served 13 months, and he is facing 70 civil cases as well. So he's still in a lot of hot water, Ben.
Well, I can never look at baby oil the same again, Nelson. That's all I'll say. Yeah, soliciting prostitution, 4 years in prison. Thought it was going to be more, but it's 4 years. So, yeah, I don't know what to say about that. gbnews.com/your say. Nelson, thanks a lot. We'll catch up with you next week, live from the Big Apple. Right, coming up in the next hour on The Late Show Live, as Hamas agrees to release Israeli hostages and accept a peace deal, what does Donald Trump's former national security chief really think of the deal? We'll get his take right after your latest weather update. Back in just a tick.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning. Storm Amy will be moving away, but it's going to be a slower process today. So there is still the potential for damaging gusts of wind, and there'll be further heavy rain to come as well. Many Met Office warnings remain in place. An amber warning across the north of Scotland. Many other wind and rain warnings across the UK. Gusty conditions, a band of rain slipping southwards, followed by plenty of showers. More heavy rain in the northwest of Scotland, where there's very strong winds, I say, are likely to continue for much of the day. The potential for further significant disruption. Some good spells of sunshine across the south, but it will be bright and blustery and cool. You'll noticeably chillier than recent days, with temperatures struggling to get into the teens for some and feeling colder with those winds, which continue to blow across northern Scotland. You can see a swirling around Storm Amy, but still dangerous gusts possible well into the afternoon, and further heavy rain coming into northern Scotland as well. Something a bit drier across the west coast of Scotland, but showers will be zipping through here, down through the Irish Sea into northwest England, North Wales, pretty much throughout the day. A bit of shelter across the southeast, not too many showers here through this evening. A decent chance of some calmer conditions, some clearer skies, and the winds will ease a little through the night. Still very windy though across northern Scotland. There's that Storm Amy slowly starting to pull away from Shetland through the early hours, but still providing, as I say, some very strong winds. Temperatures mostly dipping down to 9 or 10 degrees Celsius as we start Sunday. Sunday's still a breezy day, but for many a bright and breezy day. Quite a bit of sunshine around on Sunday across eastern England and southern England. Further west, you'll have to share the sunshine with some showers feeding into western Scotland, Wales, northwest England, and maybe more persistent rain returning to the northwest later on, but not as heavy as it has been. And those winds through the course of tomorrow won't be anything like as strong as today, so it'll probably feel a touch warmer.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
And
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Tom Harwood. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Tonight on The Late Show Live, can those suffering with even the most severe case of Trump derangement syndrome finally give the president credit for potentially solving peace in the Middle East? Hello, good evening. Tonight on The Late Show Live tonight.
Everybody was unified in wanting this war to end and seeing peace in the Middle East, and we're very close to achieving that.
Hopefully we're there. Peace in the Middle East. That was Donald Trump just moments ago responding to Hamas, who have agreed tonight to his Gaza peace deal. Stay tuned for all the breaking developments over the next hour. This will be a big one for President Trump, maybe the biggest of all. But back here in the UK.
In introducing our Deputy Prime Minister, David Lammy, and before I do, please, we know how we...
Oh dear, what an embarrassment. Shame on you, Deputy Prime Minister. That was the message from furious locals greeting David Lammy after yesterday's deadly attack on a synagogue. And by the way, where was Keir Starmer? Why is he sending Lammy out to be cannon fodder? Tonight, we also learned the terrorist was arrested and on bail for alleged rape. Of course, he was called Jihad, and now we know he was on bail for alleged rape. Very good. With shocking new claims emerging about his father's support for Hamas as well. Also breaking tonight. Diddy Combs has been sentenced to 4 years in prison, and that there on your screen was his family leaving the court just moments ago. We'll get live reaction on the case that's pretty much rocked the showbiz world in America for the past couple of years.
I'm deeply honoured to have been called to serve as the 106th
Archbishop of Canterbury.
Here she is. Get used to her. Learn her name. The backlash is already brewing. Dame Sarah Mullally takes the top job in the Church of England as the Archbishop of Canterbury, but some say she needs to repent for her woke sins. Remember when Donald Trump was forced to hit back at his own woke bishop in January?
There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families. Some who fear for their lives.
JD Vance's face said it all. Here's some anti-woke holy water. Be gone, be gone. Elsewhere tonight, we'll be diving headfirst into the stories from tomorrow's newspapers, hours before they even hit the shelves. And of course, we're live in Washington, D.C., just yards from the White House, bringing you the stories America's talking about and that matter to Britain too. I'm Ben Leo, this is The Late Show Live, and welcome to the second hour, where the stories get hotter, the pace gets a little bit faster, and the brakes have been dropped. Hurrah, don't go anywhere. Good evening, thanks for your company tonight. The United States is this evening openly ridiculing Britain. Yes, it's come to that because the US Department of Homeland Security has posted on X tonight, there's the tweet on your screen, want to help keep jihad out of America? And alongside that comment, they've posted a link to a recruitment ad for immigration agents. That's, of course, after the Home Office confirms that the Manchester synagogue attacker, Jihad al-Shami, entered the UK as a young child, being granted British citizenship in 2006 as just a minor. It's also reported tonight, and this is an even bigger joke than the guy's name, that he was on bail, accused of rape, when he carried out the attack in Manchester. And just as a reminder, Lucy Connolly, banged up for 2.5 years for a solitary tweet that she later deleted. She was refused bail. She wasn't allowed to see her 12-year-old child, her poorly husband. She was banged up. This guy, though, an alleged rapist, being investigated for an attack, was allowed to walk the streets of Britain a free man. Elsewhere, Israel's foreign minister is now warning that the UK is at a crossroads over its very character. Well, let's get the take now of Dr. Sarah Sarah Yao Hershon. There we go. Also accused, a little bit muddled. Apologies. Have I absolutely ruined your name there, Sarah?
No, it's fine, Ben. Thank you for having me on the program tonight.
Apologies. You're from the Jewish People Policy Institute. I'll get it right next time. I apologise for that. Just tell us, please, your reaction, please, as a Jew in the wake of what we've seen in Manchester the past couple of days, and indeed the reaction from the UK government as well.
Well, I lived in the UK for many years, and I have strong affection for the British Jewish community. I'm very sorry for the suffering that happened on the most holy day of the Jewish year. Clearly, this points to a larger question about unassimilated migrant populations who have not necessarily adopted Western values and Western laws in British society, as well as many other Western societies around the world. And also seems to be a failure on the part of the Starmer administration and previous governments in tackling the question of British anti-Semitism, particularly since October 7th, when week after week, chants against, Israel and the Jewish community have echoed across the streets of the UK and many other Western capitals, I should say, as well. And it was only inevitable that chants to globalize the Intifada would result in this kind of murderous terror.
What do you make of the developments tonight, Sarah, in the White House? President Trump saying that they're very close to a peace deal. The hostages will be returned, dead or alive. Actually, one of my main concerns about that is, what is Hamas going to do to the hostages that are still alive? What's to stop them from just, and I'm afraid to say it, from just killing them before sending them back to Israel?
I think everyone is very concerned about what the fate of the hostages may be. It was rumored that Hamas had asked for some kinds of amendments to the Trump peace plan in order to agree. And perhaps one of the questions is whether they had agreed to return all of the hostages, dead and alive, in one go, or whether they were going to try to continue to drag out the hostage release, because that was the biggest tool in their arsenal at the moment in maintaining any kind of prominence in Gaza and of the kind of diplomatic tool to use against the Trump administration and others. We can only hope that the deal will be signed, sealed, and delivered, and will go into effect early Monday morning in Israel or Sunday evening U.S. time.
Is President Trump the only person who could have achieved this deal if it indeed is over the line?
Well, I think the Trump administration was the best position to do so, although they obviously called upon their partners, whether that be the government of the state of Israel. It seems that very harsh words are directed at Benjamin Netanyahu to make clear that this was the deal on the table and that his government needed to agree, as well as calling in Turkey, which visited the White House last week, and Qatar, an ally of the United States, to put pressure on Hamas to sign this deal. So this was certainly a broad-based diplomatic offensive, as well as hopefully we think some of the other Western governments behind the scenes. But I think the Trump administration was better positioned than many other Western governments, particularly those who unilaterally recognized the state of Palestine in the last week or two, to try to effectively deal with both sides of the conflict at the moment.
Yeah, the UK, of course, being one of those countries to recognise Palestine. Keir Starmer did it as soon as Donald Trump left on Air Force One. He'd been gone 10 seconds and didn't have the bottle to do it in person, but then, yeah, did it when Trump was all across the Atlantic. Dr. Sarah Yael Hershorn, you're a fellow at the Jewish People Policy Institute. Thank you for your company.
Thank you for having me.
Let me know your thoughts by visiting gbnews.com/your say. Lots of you have plenty to say on Israel, Gaza, and indeed Keir Starmer. But as we just mentioned, Hamas has said it will agree to release Israeli hostages, dead and alive, under Donald Trump's peace plan for Gaza. And just moments ago, the US president gave this address from the Oval Office. OK, we haven't got that clip. We'll endeavour to get it to you very shortly. Let's get more now from the former Trump National Security Council Chief of Staff, Fred Flates. Fred, good evening. I'll ask you, is President Trump the only person who could have achieved this?
Well, I think Trump achieved a lot. It was a bold plan that got the support of Israel, Arab states, the Palestinian Authority, even the French and British, who were very busy recently appeasing Hamas and selling out Israel by recognizing a Palestinian state with no concessions. And look, I admire President Trump for keeping the door open to negotiations, but let's be clear what happened here. This is a clever no by Hamas. They don't want to disarm. They don't want to give up their weapons. They've tanked the idea of an international body or a national force in Gaza, and they say they have to be part of post-war governance of Gaza. That is impossible. Israel will never agree to that. But what I think is most outrageous is that they front-loaded their response by saying that they're going to release all the hostages. That way, when the U.S. and Israel reject the deal, they'll be blamed. And this is a cynical response. I think that's the way the U.S. will regard it. But Trump, I think, is giving Hamas one last chance.
OK, so just to clarify, Hamas, as part of this deal, they're meant to hand over control of Gaza to the Palestinian Authority, but you don't trust Hamas to basically do one and get out of there?
Well, the deal was that, and this was a big concession by the Israelis, the Palestinian Authority will eventually govern Gaza when they de-radicalize and when they're capable. In the interim, there will be a international force, like a peacekeeping force, manned mostly by Arab states. There also will be a commission of peace that President Trump and former Prime Minister Tony Blair will be part of. And the Hamas has rejected both of those ideas, at least so far, and they're saying they have to be part of post-war Gaza. That was not part of the deal. They can't be part of anything to do with the governance of Gaza under the agreement. I know Israel will insist on that.
All right, Fred, we've got that clip. Let me just play you President Donald Trump's comments from a bit earlier this evening, then I'll get your reaction.
I want to thank the countries that helped me put this together. Qatar, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan, and so many others. So many people fought so hard. This is a big day. We'll see how it all turns out. We have to get the final word down in concrete. Very importantly, I look forward to having the hostages come home to their parents and having some of the hostages, unfortunately, you know the condition they're in, come home likewise to their parents, because their parents wanted them just as much as though that young man or young woman were alive. So I just want to let you know that this is a very special day, maybe unprecedented in many ways, It is unprecedented. But thank you all, and thank you all to those great countries that helped. We were given a tremendous amount of help. Everybody was unified in wanting this war to end and seeing peace in the Middle East. And we're very close to achieving that. Thank you all, and everybody will be treated fairly.
Some breaking news in the past minute or so. The Israeli Prime Minister's office says Israel is preparing for, quote, immediate implementation of the first stage of Trump's Gaza plan for immediate release of all hostages. That follows Hamas's response. That's according to Israeli media. So the office of Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, has said that Israel is preparing for immediate implementation of the first stage of Trump's Gaza plan, including the immediate release of all hostages. That follows Hamas's response this evening. Fred, somebody on our comment section tonight has said, it's Mary Larkin, has said, for some, controversial, but Donald Trump is the best leader at the right time, a disruptor when the world needs a reset. Is that fair?
I think that's fair, but there's another element here that's very interesting. Trump has the trust of the Arabs and of Israel. That's why he was able to get this deal through. That meant that the Arab states and the Palestinian Authority was with him, and Hamas is nowhere to go. There's unprecedented pressure on Hamas after being beaten down by Israel, and it has no allies. So I think that led it to make this response today, but it's not good enough. It is not an acceptance of this deal. It is a clever no. But look, Trump's still keeping the door open to diplomacy. This is good statesmanship. He's not rejecting it outright, but I don't think Hamas has long to accept this deal.
What will the consequences be, Fred, from President Donald Trump? I know he kind of hinted at it tonight on Truth Social, saying that if it wasn't accepted by 6 p.m. this evening, there'd be hell to pay. I think he said something like, we'd unleash hell like never seen before. I mean, what does that mean?
Well, I described this in my new American Greatness article, AmericanGreatness.com, that ran today. The beauty of this deal is that there was an expectation Hamas probably wouldn't accept it, and the world will move on without it. Basically, areas of Israel that have been cleared of terrorists will be turned over to this international force, and rebuilding, reconstruction will start there. Hamas is going to be frozen out. It has nowhere to go. Hopefully, we won't have to go to that point, that Hamas will cooperate and all the hostages will be released. I pray for that. We should all pray for that. But realistically, that's not the way the Palestinians have negotiated through decades of being offered very generous peace plans.
Yeah, and I also just fear, Fred, as well, before I let you go, you know, Hamas is a military arm, it's a political arm. They're terrorists, according to the UK and the United States, which is 100% accurate, of course. But also it's an ideology. So I just wonder, even if Hamas have left Gaza and they hand over control to the Palestinian Authority, I mean, the same with ISIS and Al-Qaeda, it's radical Islam, it's Islamist extremism. So are you ever really going to get rid of that?
That's right. We can't bomb an idea out of existence. But if we could get the Hamas fighters to leave Gaza, if we could get those who agree to disarm and be part of a peaceful society, that would be a good outcome. I think we have to hope for the best. Realistically, I think we're probably going to go in another direction, but President Trump hasn't given up hope yet.
All right, Fred Flates, you are the former Trump National Security Council Chief of Staff. Thank you very much for your company. We'll catch up soon. gbnews.com/your say. Somebody said, Simon, good evening. You said, I don't think Hamas will release the hostages. That will give Trump the green light to go in and release all hell on Hamas. A very funny one there from Malcolm, which I can't read out for obvious reasons. Molly, you said, Ben, thanks for David Wooding, a true Scouse journalist. They are always honest. Yeah, David is a top British journalist. He's been in the lobby pack for many years in the UK, a top journalist and editor at The Sun as well. And Simon, you've also said Hamas response states they must have a seat at the table. That's a deal breaker. Yeah, there we go. gbnews.com/your say. Joining me in the studio again is political commentator Hillary Fordwich and Democrat strategist and former spokesperson for Barack Obama, Federico de Jesus. Federico, can you remember what the situation in the Middle East was like under Obama back when you worked for him?
Well, there were controversies with Bibi Netanyahu for expanding settlements and for rejecting the two-state solution, for making racist comments about Arab voters before his election. Obama was for the Arab peace plan, the 67 borders with swaps. There wasn't a genocide going on in Gaza. I don't know why we're celebrating something that hasn't happened. Why would you do an Oval Office address if you haven't had the hostages released?
So did you say there was or wasn't a genocide?
Not when Obama was.
When Obama? Do you think there is one now?
Of course there is.
Yeah. Hillary, do you think there's a genocide going on in Gaza now?
Yeah, absolutely. And can we just make a big point here? Over 3,000 years, there's been all this sort of strife in the Middle East. When are you ever going to get peace? And President Trump is actually brokering it. I think that's absolutely important because he's trying to find a way to get each side to come to the table with something that benefits them, and I think that's absolutely unique. No one else has been able to do it. Even the Balfour Declaration, for goodness sake, didn't really solve things. It only kept a semblance of peace for a certain amount of time. So I think this is really unique because he's finding something that everybody wants, which is bringing them to the table.
That sounds great, but on the ground we haven't seen the hostages and Israel still bombing Gaza.
Not yet,
so I wouldn't have done an Oval Office celebrating something that hasn't happened yet. So if it happens, that'll be great.
Yes, if it happens. Yeah, I agree with that. It hasn't happened yet, but we are close. Closer than we've been in
That'd be awesome.
Our lifetimes.
What do you make of the UK recognising Palestine as a state as soon as Trump left?
You know, I'm for a two-state solution. I want there to actually be two states living in peace side by side. So these symbolic gestures of giving Palestinians a state is great, but it's not going to change conditions on the ground.
I mean, I'd argue it's not entirely symbolic because Hamas said that one of the fruits of October the 7th was Palestine being recognised as a state. And the argument in the UK, Federico, is that Keir Starmer, who has allowed these, we call them hate marches in the UK, these pro-Palestine Action hate marches. Palestine Action is a prescribed terrorist group in the UK, not just about protesting the cause for Palestinians and to stop bombing kids, of course, but Palestine Action is a specific terror group in the UK. People on the street supporting them week after week. He's allowed that to carry on. People argue Starmer hasn't done enough for the Jewish people of not just Israel, but the UK as well.
Well, again, to be pro-Jewish is not incompatible with also being pro-peace. And I'm not sure of the details in the UK how you can stop a peaceful march or arrest the organizers that incite violence. So again, I don't know what you think the government should do about it.
So are you Jewish, Federico?
No, but my son is, and I have a Jewish and Israeli family.
Your son is?
Yes, because my partner's Jewish. And
right,
the Jewish tradition
just
is
trying to work that one out.
Yes.
Also Jewish, yeah, that's the tradition.
Okay, and just explain for the viewers, and educate me as well. So you can be Jewish, of course, without being a Zionist?
Of course.
Yeah, what's the difference for our viewers?
I think that Zionism has, unfortunately, a negative connotation for some in the left.
What does it mean to be a Zionist?
To have a land to go back to, which is great. Israel should exist. That doesn't mean that Palestine shouldn't. I believe in a two-state solution because both people have a right to their homeland.
But you agree in a two-state solution, and the Palestinians were given 6 opportunities and they did not.
Depends on the Palestinian that you talk to, and Yasser Arafat obviously did a horrible job.
What are you going to say, Federico, if and when this deal gets over the line and then rockets continue coming from Gaza into Israel?
Well, hopefully
as we've seen previously. When was the last one? 2016?
Hopefully they won't.
Yes.
You know, the only justification for pulverizing Gaza and killing all these children was supposedly to stop terror, so hopefully it won't.
I mean, do you not think it was to stop terrorists?
I think that killing children isn't about stopping terrorism now.
No. I mean, Israel would argue, I mean, I'm with you, I'll be the first person to defend the killing of kids, but Israel would argue they're sort of...
Human shields, sure, but you still killed them.
Yeah. Okay. gbnews.com/your say on The Late Show Live. Keep your comments coming in. Still ahead tonight.
I'm deeply honoured to have been called to serve as the 106th Archbishop of Canterbury.
She was also, apart from the new Archbishop of Canterbury, the first female to do the job, the first woman in, I think it's 500 years. We'll be speaking to President Trump's pastor to see what he thinks of that appointment. Is she woker than Justin Welby? A high bar indeed, but I think she may have passed it. Also tonight.
If I see somebody who is black, as I said on the show, I'm going to hope that that person is qualified. That's what I said, which of course is legitimate because they're begging the question, we're not hiring based on merit anymore. We're hiring based on race.
As October marks Black History Month in the UK, we'll be speaking to the author and entrepreneur and podcast host Jenny Triplett about diversity, equity and inclusion, DEI. Has it gone too far, or maybe, I don't think you'll agree with this, or not too far enough? This is The Late Show Live, only on GB News. Right, here's a story to get your studs into. The FA has been accused of racism by Rupert Lowe's campaign group Restore Britain for launching a black, Asian and mixed heritage referee course. So it's a referee course for only blacks, Asians and anybody else who's basically not white. No whites allowed, you're banned. The advert is on your screen now if you're watching on telly. It is designed at increasing representation of the ethnic groups in the section of football across the UK, and the initiative is part of the FA's broader refereeing strategy, which includes a goal to increase referee recruitment from historically underrepresented communities by 50%. The FA's refereeing EDI delivery manager, Raj Randhawa, has previously acknowledged the lack of ethnic diversity among referees and the need for action. It comes after new research found that UK advertisers are proportionately overrepresenting black people in TV commercials. Well, to discuss more on DEI initiatives, I'm joined by Jenny Triplett, the author, entrepreneur and podcast host. Jenny, good evening. What's your take on this? Do you think it's a good thing that we are excluding white people from refereeing courses in sports?
How are they being excluded when they have been the norm? So how is there any exclusion? Inclusion is the people who have been excluded.
Well, they haven't been. I mean, how have black people been excluded from refereeing in soccer or whatever sport? How have they been excluded?
Not having the opportunity. In order to have the opportunity, you have to have the qualifications. And if you don't have the courses or the offerings, or you're not being led into the courses and offerings, then you're not able to get the qualifications.
But anybody can apply to be a referee and train as a referee. Anybody can learn basketball. I mean, look at the NBA. The NBA is what, I think, 70% black? I argue because black people are faster, stronger, they can jump higher generally than white people. But, I mean, that's just the way it is.
Well, there's a separation here when you say my people. Are basketball players not human? So humans are given gifts and skills. So maybe black people are more gifted and skilled in those areas than other people. And so when you look
I agree. I think they are.
When you look at racial biases, maybe other people can do other sports a little bit better than black people. But the focus of the NBA and the NFL and saying who is gifted in those areas, why not concentrate on the people who are gifted in other areas? Why is the focus concentrated on black people and their gifts?
I'm lost with what you're saying actually, but my broader point is some people are just better at jobs than others, and why do you necessarily need so many amounts of black people, a certain amount of white people, so many amounts of Asian people? I mean, generally, you know, people are just good at other. They're creative in one way, they're talented at others. Why do you need representation everywhere?
Well, look at how long we were excluded. Look at how long we were excluded. And representation includes the people who come and watch, also the people who play the game.
Excluded from what? So what were you excluded from?
We were excluded from a lot of opportunities. We couldn't play basketball. We couldn't play football. We couldn't play baseball. Jesse Robinson. We couldn't play if the talented people got on the football team, they definitely couldn't be quarterback. They were excluded from the quarterback position. You wouldn't have a black quarterback. That is why it's historic now that there's actually 16 quarterbacks on the 32 teams. Half of the NFL have black quarterbacks. That's historic because we were excluded from that position. Even though we had the talent, we would not, because of racism, we were excluded. We weren't able to play. So this is the thing. And let's look at the back office, okay? With the NBA. The majority of owners do not look like the players. So why do the owners and the players are not the same?
Jenny, maybe I'm just being really thick, but you know, Martin Luther King said, "Judge me on the content of my character, not the colour of my skin." And the only thing I see with these DEI initiatives is people still obsessed for some reason about the colour of people's skin. I don't look at people and think, "Oh, you're black, you're white." I do as my kids do, and most other kids, through a lens of innocence and love and acceptance, and say, you are a human being. I appreciate you for the talents and skills you've got. I don't care who you sleep with or what colour your skin is. I don't know why we're still going around this circle. And it was Martin Luther King himself said, "Judge me on the content of my character."
Let's not play games and think that everybody liked Martin Luther King. Everybody loves to quote Martin Luther King, but everybody did not like Martin Luther King because of what he represented and how he wanted that equality for Black people. And that was the main thing that he did, was bring up the fact that we were not equal. Even though we were supposed to be created equal until 1965, we did not have those rights to be equal in a lot of ways. And the concentration as far as DEI, because when you look across the board, especially in C-suites, which I am in and out of the C-suites, a lot of times when I'm sitting at the table, I'm the only person that looks like me in 2025. So why is that the case? Because I know in my circle, there's a lot of people that's qualified, degreed, educated, and different things like that. But they could tell you 101 stories of how they were discriminated against, how racism played a part in their hiring or in their education.
Yeah, maybe I just don't understand because I'm not an ethnic minority and I'll never get it. But just from my perspective as a white bloke, I just think, why focus on things that have happened in the past? Why focus on the discrimination that's happened in the past? Just be present. We've all got equal opportunity now. And actually, Hillary Ford, you got a very quick question. What's your question for Jenny?
My point is DEI. Why can't I be on a basketball team as a woman over 30 and who's shorter? Why not? That would be diversity.
Why not, Jenny?
Why not?
Well, that's not your qualification.
Maybe I wouldn't be as good.
But you know what? If you could qualify, sure, why not? But
why
as
couldn't
to your
I
point,
be?
As to your point,
5'3", 5'3", over 30.
You don't want to focus. You don't understand why people are still focused on things from the past, because it's not the past. It's not the past. Just last week, I got called the N-word. I got a screenshot. I was called the N-word.
That's awful.
It's not in the past.
That's not good. That's terrible.
Yeah, well, Jenny, that's awful. But I mean, racism, I don't think you'll ever stamp out racism. You're always going to get stupid idiots roaming around. So that will never be eliminated. Federico's here as well. So this is a good conversation. Let's bring in Federico.
My question is more to the rest of the panel. You guys really think that we do have equality and there isn't policy set by the state, like eliminating souls for the polls, was it clearly targeting Black people? There's still laws that openly discriminate.
Well, you worked for the first Black president of the United States,
and that produced the racist backlash that we're still paying for.
Well, what about the Olympic teams? How about the racing the Olympic teams when they do the 100-yard dash? The 100-yard dash, the Olympic teams. Why are they all?
Don't play dumb and think that the NFL should hire you
because they run faster.
Okay, are you only talking about the United States? Are you only talking about the United States? Because those women in Great Britain went against the United States in the 100-yard dash. They weren't Black. A lot of them were not Black. And if we're talking about countries like
Jenny,
Poland,
the polls are nowhere quicker than let's be honest, Black people are faster generally than white people.
That's a stereotype.
It's not.
Let's talk about
they're white basketball players.
Black people.
Yeah.
But the focus, this whole story, Jenny, is about the focus on the soccer referee, the organisation in the UK hiring Black people and excluding white people. That's what the whole story is. That's why we're talking about Black people and ethnic minorities.
The courses and offerings, the same way with STEM. If we have a low, and trust me, the U.S. is lacking in public education right now. There is a lull in education. So with STEM, there needs to be more people, and there definitely needs to be more Black people with those offerings. With the public school offerings, they're not being taught on that level to compete with other ethnicities. So there has to be a more of an offering. If you are about quality education, then you have to concentrate on the people that are being left behind. Obviously, there's a problem with. Let's talk about who's playing soccer. Are the teams white? Is everybody in soccer white?
Well, we've got to wrap up very shortly. I mean, the soccer teams in England. I mean, I support Arsenal. Most of the Arsenal squad is black.
Then why
I don't go through London campaigning for more white Arsenal players. Let me tell you that.
But why can't there be
white women over 30 on basketball teams? I want to know.
Why can't there be a diversity in the referees if the players are not that? What are the owners?
Well, fine. If it organically gets there like that, fine. But you're trying to create something that isn't there. Maybe black people in the UK just aren't interested in refereeing football.
How do you know someone isn't interested in doing it? How do you know someone of that ethnicity isn't interested in being a referee?
Because, Jenny, I'll tell you why in a very simple answer.
Is presented to them.
Yeah. I'll tell you why. We have to wrap up, unfortunately, but I'll tell you why. Because the process of becoming a referee in England doesn't exclude black people. Black people have every opportunity to apply to become referees. And they don't. They're just not. So that's it. I don't think it's any deeper than that. The same way the Olympic sprinting team in Britain is mostly black. The same way basketball players are mostly black. Sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles. It's not being racist. I'll tell you what is racist in my book, Jenny, before I let you go, is excluding people of a certain skin colour from programmes because of the melatonin content in their skin.
Yes.
I don't think they're being excluded. It's just people are being offered the opportunity.
Jenny, we'll leave it there. It's been a fascinating debate. All right, Jenny, thank you very much. Really appreciate your company. I love debating you. Author, entrepreneur and podcast host Jenny Triplett. That was interesting, wasn't it? gbnews.com/your-say. Lots of comments on that. I'll read them very shortly. Moving on very quickly, some breaking news this evening. Hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs has been sentenced to, get this, 4 years in prison over prostitution-related charges. It was all to do with baby oil, etc., wasn't it? And it was, of course, more than his defence had hoped for, but less than the prosecution's call for more than 11 years. So he got away with 4 years, which is, compared to what the prosecution wanted, I guess he got off all right. Lawyers have reacted outside the court today, describing it as a very bad day and say they actually intend to appeal that sentence. But I'm joined now by Niyama Rahmani, the president of LA-based West Coast Trial Lawyers. Thank you for your company this evening. Niyama, apologies again for messing your name up if I did indeed do that.
It's a tough one. It's Nima Rahmani.
Nima, thank you, appreciate it. What's your take on Diddy's sentence here? 4 years for me seemed, I mean, I haven't been following the case in much detail, but there was sort of conjecture and rhetoric over the recent years that he'd be in for a 20, 30-year stretch.
Well, he beat the most serious charges of racketeering and sex trafficking, so we're really talking about simple prostitution. Certainly high. The defense didn't do itself any favors today. They came out aggressive. They went after the victims in the case. Jane, Cassie, Mia, they all testified during the trial, and obviously the jurors didn't believe them. So the defense took a pretty aggressive position, saying that they weren't victims at all, and they actually didn't even have a right to address the court. Well, the judge took offense to that, said that was inappropriate, and it was really all downhill from there for Sean Diddy Combs. And they really tried to make this mitigation argument. They put together a 11-minute video talking about all the good things he'd done, but they couldn't run away from the 2016 video of him beating Cassie Ventura that we had all seen. So as the very long sentencing today progressed, it was clear that he was going to get time. It was just a question of how much.
Anima, in the UK, generally, if you serve half your sentence and you have good behaviour, you can get out of prison halfway through and you get put on an electronic tag and you're monitored. What's the situation here in the US? How long will Diddy actually spend in prison?
That's not going to happen in the U.S. In the federal system, you have to serve 85% of your sentence. You can get 15% off if you're a well-behaved model inmate. So Diddy's been in for about 13, 14 months now, which means he's going to have to serve another 2.5 years. He's not going to see the light of day until 2028 unless he has a successful appeal or President Trump decides to pardon him or commute a sentence.
Interesting. Nima Rahmani, thank you very much. You're the president of LA-based West Coast Trial Lawyers. Thank you for your company tonight. Right, moving on. On the Late Show Live.
Well, first of all, is to offer my condolences, really, for what was a horrific attack, and to say that anti-Semitism is never right, and that I stand alongside them just in solidarity at this time.
That was the new Archbishop of Canterbury speaking about the recent Manchester terror attacks. We'll be speaking to, I'm excited about this, President Trump's pastor to see what he thinks about the new appointment. But up next, we'll be discussing tomorrow's papers hot off the press. This is The Late Show Live, only on GB News.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption.
Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning. Storm Amy will be moving away, but it's going to be a slower process today. So there is still the potential for damaging gusts of wind, and there'll be further heavy rain to come as well. Many Met Office warnings remain in place. An amber warning across the north of Scotland. Many other wind and rain warnings across the UK. Gusty conditions, a band of rain slipping southwards, followed by plenty of showers. More heavy rain in the northwest of Scotland, where there's very strong winds, I say, are likely to continue for much of the day. The potential for further significant disruption. Some good spells of sunshine across the south, but it will be bright and blustery and cool. You'll noticeably chillier than recent days, with temperatures struggling to get into the teens for some and feeling colder with those winds, which continue to blow across northern Scotland. You can see a swirling around Storm Amy, but still dangerous gusts possible well into the afternoon, and further heavy rain coming into northern Scotland as well. Something a bit drier across the west coast of Scotland, but showers will be zipping through here, down through the Irish Sea into northwest England, North Wales, pretty much throughout the day. A bit of shelter across the southeast, not too many showers here through this evening. A decent chance of some calmer conditions, some clearer skies, and the winds will ease a little through the night. Still very windy though across northern Scotland. There's that Storm Amy slowly starting to pull away from Shetland through the early hours, but still providing, as I say, some very strong winds. Temperatures mostly dipping down to 9 or 10 degrees Celsius as we start Sunday. Sunday's still a breezy day, but for many a bright and breezy day. Quite a bit of sunshine around on Sunday across eastern England and southern England. Further west, you'll have to share the sunshine with some showers feeding into western Scotland, Wales, northwest England, and maybe more persistent rain returning to the northwest later on, but not as heavy as it has been. And those winds through the course of tomorrow won't be anything like as strong as today, so it'll probably feel a touch warmer.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Welcome back to the Late Show Live with me, Ben Leo. We were still debating amongst the panel about the DEI story. We just had an interesting debate with Jenny there, of course. The FA in the UK is excluding white people from its referee scheme. Arthur, you've said on your say, Ben, you are in America, not the UK. Blacks were excluded from white areas in the past. That's where Jenny, the previous guest, was coming from. Fine, I get it, but my point to Jenny was stop focusing on the past. Why focus on something that happened, you know, it was wrong decades and decades ago, which I argue is now being remedied. And also DEI, I'll say it again, if you're excluding people from certain programs or organisations because of the colour of their skin, that's racist. Right, let's get through the front pages in tomorrow's newspapers. The Express leads with claims Britain has been shamed by a failure to crack down on anti-Semitism. Senior Tories accuse leaders of being too weak to protect Jewish communities. That's the Daily Express. The Sun leads with fury after it emerged the synagogue terrorist in Manchester was out on bail for rape when he carried out his attack. The Times runs with the Prime Minister's warning to Palestinian activists to respect the grief of Jews this weekend in the wake of the Manchester synagogue attack. Of course, it's the Palestine Action protest in London later today. Thousands expected to take to the streets of London, regardless of what's happened in Manchester, and also regardless of what's happened tonight in the Oval Office. President Trump announcing they are very close to securing, hopefully, peace in the Middle East. Let me know your thoughts. gbnews.com/your say. And joining me from London is former editor of the Sunday Express, David Wooding. David, welcome back. What's tickled your fancy on the front pages?
Well, we've talked a lot in the last slot about the appalling tragedy, the terrorist attack in Manchester. The only paper which hasn't splashed on this tomorrow is the Daily Telegraph. Now it's the advantage of being a broadsheet paper, so it's got lots of space to cover the Manchester terror attacks. But the main lead story in the Telegraph is one which is quite intriguing. It's accusing the Labour government of sabotaging a spy trial involving two Brits accused of giving state secrets to the Chinese regime. Now, the trial collapsed in September, I think, and at the time, the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, said he was extremely disappointed that the trial had collapsed. But what the Telegraph is now revealing is, in fact, that the reason it collapsed was because the government didn't put up a civil servant, a senior civil servant, to reveal that China is seen as a potential enemy. So, of course, they can't be convicted of spying if they're not giving the secrets to a potential enemy. So these two men, Christopher Cash and Christopher Berry, free men as a result. And it emerges also that when the investigation was originally on, the previous Conservative government said that they would put up a senior civil servant to say exactly that. But it seems that the new incoming Labour government have balked and pulled the plug on it. So despite saying he's extremely disappointed, it seems that the government itself is the cause of this trial collapsing.
Yeah, it's bizarre. One of the guys, Mr. Cash, who was meant to be on trial, he works for Tory MPs, and Mr. Berry, who was a teacher, they were accused of passing politically sensitive information about the China Research Group in Parliament and government policy to a senior member of the CCP. Who was the Labour MP done for taking bungs, David?
Oh gosh, there's been. Which one are you talking about and when? I can't
don't worry, I
recall
won't get myself in trouble. It was to do with China. I think I know, but I won't bother getting myself in trouble.
It was quite a complex case. That I think, unless we have all the documents in front of us, we'd be treading on thin ice.
Have we got a China problem, David? Have we got a CCP problem?
It's a difficult issue. I mean, a large number of senior MPs have been sanctioned by China. Ian Duncan Smith, the former cabinet minister and former Tory leader, has been sanctioned. And that's purely because they've criticised the China regime. The problem is that China will be the most powerful country in the world. It's getting that way already. And it's a big nation to be trading with. But at the same time, it is seen as the new potential enemy. So it's a difficult one. So they're trying to sit on the fence a little bit, perhaps. The government want to do trade deals with China, want to be friendly with them, but realise they've got to sup the soup with a large spoon.
Yeah, well, just as well we're building them they're building a brand new embassy in the heart of London, eh? Who knows what's going on in those basement floors and the second lower floor?
Yeah, there's a secret room in that embassy which that they won't reveal what it's for, and there's a big row going on about that at the moment too.
Yeah. I'm sure it's all legitimate and very straight up. Hey, David Wooding, thank you very much. Appreciate your company.
Pleasure.
See you again next week, the former editor of the Sunday Express and the Sun. Right, let's move on. Interesting story here. The boss of Wetherspoons has accused Energy Secretary Ed Miliband of making drinkers pay for his net zero plans. I mean, everybody's paying for net zero, aren't they? Boozers, households, workers. Every man and his dog's paying for net zero. It's been revealed that, according to the boss of Wetherspoons, Sir Tim Martin, has said that huge stealth taxes on power were costing his pub chain millions of pounds. And Sir Tim said taxes added to energy bills meant to fund the transition from fossil fuels and build nuclear plants were spurring inflation, with firms' extra costs then passed on to consumers. Sir Tim said Ed Miliband is making drinkers pay, but these net zero plans were instigated by Theresa May and zealously pursued by Boris Johnson. So the malaise infected almost the entire body politic. Hilary, you'll be familiar with Spoons. Are you a regular at Spoons?
No.
No? Not even for the brekkies? £2.50 breakfast?
No.
No, just me then?
No, I actually have fruit in the morning. It's your elimination cycle.
Of course
it's
you do.
Very important.
That's why you look so glam, Hilary.
Lovely,
You've just let the secrets out. What's your take on net zero? Is it a giant con?
Absolutely. Well, you know, my proof is when the people that purport to care actually do care, then I'll take it more seriously. Davos, all that carbon footprint, they all fly there on their private jets. They fly around the world on the private jets. Then they're going to tell you, Ben, and you, David, what kind of car you're going to drive. So when they actually act like they care, and by the way, do you know you can drive a Hummer for 6 months for what it takes to put air conditioning on? In America, anyone who says they ever care about net zero, stop making it so bloody cold in all the restaurants, all the buildings during the summer, and open the windows spring and fall.
All of that is awesome, but you shouldn't force people to drive cars they don't want, but you can incentivize a greener technology, and I think that there's a middle ground. Would you agree?
Open windows. You can't open windows in any building in Washington, D.C. or anywhere, most places in America, all these buildings. In the spring and the fall, you need no air conditioning whatsoever. You can't even open the windows to
a lot of countries in Europe, they don't have air conditioner in the summer, and that's really bad.
So in America, they're really hypocritical.
Well, there's cleaner sources of energy. I don't think that you have to choose that way.
Don't wear a jacket.
Right. Go cold. That's the policy. That's awesome.
Well, that's what Net Zero is doing, colder and poorer. Did you know, Federico, the UK's carbon emission exports globally is less than 1%?
I did not know that.
And yet we are driven down this dark, expensive path of going, deranged path, I call it, to net zero. The other day, wind farms, there's a massive wind farm off my house in Sussex in the English Channel.
Doesn't work when the wind doesn't blow.
When there was too much wind, Federico, the bill payers in the UK had to pay millions and millions of pounds to the wind farm owners to turn them off. And then we had to go and get gas from the continent as well. It costs something about £5 billion a year. And that's why President Trump calls them windmills, doesn't he?
Windmills.
Calls them a big con job, a big joke.
And by the way, they're not biodegradable. And when those blades, you try to dispose of them, there's nothing you can do with them. They are terrible for the environment. And what it takes to also...
I think climate change is real and we need to do something about it. We can debate what policy. I'm for a carbon tax, but every country should set their goals.
Yeah, okay. Let's get stuck into another story, because 5,000 people were being signed off sick every working day in the UK, with a doubling in incapacity benefit claims under Labour. So I'll say that again. So 5,000 people being signed off sick every working day, with a doubling in incapacity benefit claims under Labour. It's seen a surge in claims as ministers began discussing welfare reform. That's according to figures that will intensify debate about the rising cost of sickness benefits. 5,000 a day, Hillary. Does that sound like quite a lot? I mean, it's doubled under Labour. Why is it doubling under Labour?
Well, probably because they're eating the wrong kind of breakfast and they're not doing their elimination cycle like they should be. No, actually, I will say very seriously, and with regard to food, I haven't been to a doctor in 24 years. There is absolutely no reason to ever be sick. Every single thing is about your immune system. Are you eating and consuming things that strengthen your immune system? I think the fundamental issue is the unhealthy diet. Actually, the greatest number of obese people in the world is the US. The fastest rate of growing obese people is in the UK.
Is that really?
It's junk food, it's fast food, it's eating too many chemicals, eat fruits and vegetables, basically eat the caveman diet, because if you put all of evolution, by the way, into 1 year, we live like the last second of the last day. In 400,000 years since Neanderthals, we have not evolved. Eat what they would have eaten foraging.
Is that the keto diet?
Nuts and berries and things that are natural. Fruits and vegetables.
Steak?
Eat nothing out of a packet, eat nothing with chemicals.
You get some great steak here in DC.
So you're going to make UK healthy again, like
I can make it healthy again like this, like my children are. Never been sick, didn't have a sick day from school.
But if you eliminate the EPA's enforcement powers, then people are going to be unhealthy, because you don't think that people get sick from the environment.
It's big business pushing the chemicals, and the big businesses push the chemicals into the food.
I'd do a better job than they do.
No, don't ban them. Don't ban them. Just give more education to people about what keeps you healthy.
I'd also argue we're not moving much these days. People generally don't move a lot. But also, why is it doubled under Labour? What message are Labour putting out there?
I think it's the message that...
Are they just sick of the state of the country?
In America, they call them snowflakes. We call them snowflakes, and that is people that just like, oh, wussy, 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 wussy. And I think the spirit, at least from England, the spirit of the Second World War, the tough spirit, the blood, sweat, toil, and tears, isn't in existence anymore.
Somebody on your say, Hillary, said, "I'll have whatever she's taking." What are you taking? Come on,
I take
spill
nothing.
the beans.
Fruits and vegetables, lean proteins, and by the way, if we were supposed to have meat every day, we would have had very sharp incisors. We have very sophisticated arms and fingers because we were foragers.
Oh, I don't know. I'll have steak every day. You one for steak, Federica?
Not every day, but I like steak.
Yeah, nice. Good man.
You can eat your steak, absolutely, but just not all the time.
Exactly.
Okay. Dr. Hillary. You know we have a Dr. Hillary in the UK.
I don't go to doctors.
Right.
I don't go to doctors. I'm fit and healthy.
Do you have a healthy podcast? That sounds like a moneymaker.
I should, shouldn't I?
Right, let's move on. Hundreds of violent criminal, bit of a gear change. Just hundreds of violent criminals, sex offenders and thieves recalled to jail have been freed early in the UK. Of course they have, without checks by the parole board, under a scheme to prevent prisons running out of space. That's according to The Telegraph. Offenders recalled to their jail for breaching their licence would only previously have been freed again after checks by the parole board to assess, of course, whether they remained a high risk to the public. However, this situation personifies the state of affairs in the UK at the moment. The criminals who were originally jailed for up to 4 years are now eligible for automatic release 28 days after their recall to prison. So, long story short, our prisons are so full, Federico. Maybe we can take inspiration from the US. You've got prisons popping up all over the shop, owned by private contractors, right? They're not owned by the state.
Yeah, that's horrible, because
you don't like that?
No, because you basically give them the customers. It's no rehabilitation. It's not making people safer, and there's a lot of overcrowding in prisons here. But I don't think that people should just be let go because it's overcrowded. And if you need more prisons, build them. But having a private prison just makes it an incentive to have more customers.
Do you know there are states in America, what they do is they actually base the prison construction based on how many children can read in the 3rd grade.
Sorry, say that again.
They base the construction of prisons based on how many children can read in the 3rd grade,
So
which means they're about 7. How many children can read at about 7 years old?
Wow. So what? So they're using sort of big data to try.
That's what they have to do.
To try and
they can
suggest
determine. That's how they can determine how many criminals there will be and the need for prisons.
Because of education, they're saying
lack of education.
I'm going to be very
Are
blunt
they
here.
investing that amount of money too in improving reading at 3rd grade?
So I'm going to be very blunt here. They are assuming that kids will grow up being thick and stupid, go into a life of crime.
If you can't read, they've determined statistically, if you can't read in the 3rd grade, which in England is about 5 or 6, 7 years old in primary school, then you eventually will be more. There's a predisposition to be a criminal. Yes.
Wow. I mean, did you know that?
I did not. That's very interesting. Thank you for
that seems a bit Orwellian, just using sort of data. I mean, some kids are slower to learn.
That's what American states use.
I mean, some kids are good at maybe carpentry
No, if you
or using
can't
their
read
hands.
by 7 or 8 years old, it's a big problem.
I think in modern society, if you don't read, you're at a disadvantage no matter what.
My children read in
profession you
preschool. I read
choose.
to them.
Okay, and one more story. I think this Palestine march tomorrow in London, Federico. You're happy with it, of course.
Well, it depends on what they're marching for. If they're marching for stopping the bombing in Gaza, that's great. If they're marching for eliminating the Jews, that's wrong.
Correct.
Do you think the marches should be banned in the UK?
I think that actually, out of respect for what happened in Manchester, they should hold it just because of respect for that. But I do agree in free speech and the ability, if it's peaceful, to protest.
That's what the Met Police are calling for. But these people, I mean, do you think they give a damn about Jews?
I don't think that they do, and I don't think it's going to be peaceful.
No. Okay. All right.
Unfortunately.
Federico, Hilary, thank you for your company. It's been fun. Thank you, viewers at home as well tonight. I've been reading all your comments. Sorry I can't get through them all. Paul, you've said it's a well-known fact in economics that if lower taxes, the economy will grow because people have more money to spend. You have to balance that with information. I think that's in reference to, sure, that's in reference to Labour, not to inflation. Guys, thank you for your company. Sweet dreams. I'll be back tomorrow from midnight in the UK, 7 p.m. Eastern time. And I hope you sleep well and have a good day tomorrow. Thank you for spending your night with The Late Show Live, and of course to Federico and to Hilary. Keep those comments coming in. I'll try and pick them up again tomorrow. For now, I'm Ben Leo on The Late Show Live. I'll see you tomorrow from midnight. See you then. Sweet dreams.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning. Storm Amy will be moving away, but it's going to be a slower process today. So there is still the potential for damaging gusts of wind, and there'll be further heavy rain to come as well. Many Met Office warnings remain in place. An amber warning across the north of Scotland. Many other wind and rain warnings across the UK. Gusty conditions, a band of rain slipping southwards, followed by plenty of showers. More heavy rain in the northwest of Scotland, where there's very strong winds, I say, are likely to continue for much of the day. The potential for further significant disruption. Some good spells of sunshine across the south, but it will be bright and blustery and cool. You'll noticeably chillier than recent days, with temperatures struggling to get into the teens for some and feeling colder with those winds, which continue to blow across northern Scotland. You can see a swirling around Storm Amy, but still dangerous gusts possible well into the afternoon, and further heavy rain coming into northern Scotland as well. Something a bit drier across the west coast of Scotland, but showers will be zipping through here, down through the Irish Sea into northwest England, North Wales, pretty much throughout the day. A bit of shelter across the southeast, not too many showers here through this evening. A decent chance of some calmer conditions, some clearer skies, and the winds will ease a little through the night. Still very windy though across northern Scotland. There's that Storm Amy slowly starting to pull away from Shetland through the early hours, but still providing, as I say, some very strong winds. Temperatures mostly dipping down to 9 or 10 degrees Celsius as we start Sunday. Sunday's still a breezy day, but for many a bright and breezy day. Quite a bit of sunshine around on Sunday across eastern England and southern England. Further west, you'll have to share the sunshine with some showers feeding into western Scotland, Wales, northwest England, and maybe more persistent rain returning to the northwest later on, but not as heavy as it has been. And those winds through the course of tomorrow won't be anything like as strong as today, so it'll probably feel a touch warmer.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
I'm Andrew Pearce. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good evening and welcome to GBN Tonight with me, Alex Armstrong. Coming up on the show, as Britain's second city comes to terms with yesterday's chilling synagogue terror attack, we'll take you to Manchester for the very latest. And elsewhere, the Green Party conference kicked off today, but so did a group of female party members who allege they've been banned for their gender-critical views. Is Britain's wokest party guilty of sex discrimination? And the first ever female Archbishop of Canterbury has been appointed. A sign of societal progress, perhaps, or another step away from the traditions of the church. We've got a really big show planned for you this evening, and all of that to come. But first, your news with Sophia Hill.
Alex, thank you. Very good evening. It's just gone 7 o'clock. These are your top stories. Breaking earlier on this evening, sources say that the terrorist, Jihad al-Shami, was on police bail for an alleged rape when he carried out the Manchester synagogue attack. Meanwhile, crowds earlier on heckled the Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy during the vigil that took place in Crumpsall.
Palestine! Shame on you! Shame on you! On the ambassador! Go to Palestine! Leave us alone!
Adrian Dalby have described him as a hero who tragically lost his life in their courage using the courage to save others. The attacker, who's responsible for the killings, was a 35-year-old British citizen of Syrian descent, and he was shot dead at 7 minutes after the police were called to the scene. He came to the UK as a young child and was granted British citizenship in 2006 as a minor. Yesterday's events did not stop pro-Palestine protests going ahead across the nation last night, as the Met Police are calling for such rallies to be cancelled. Elsewhere, Dame Sarah Mullally has been named as the next Archbishop of Canterbury, the first time a woman has been appointed this role in the Church of England's history. In a speech this morning, she described the Manchester synagogue terror attack as horrific and warned that hatred and racism of any kind cannot be allowed to tear us apart. The announcement comes almost a year since Justin Welby resigned from the role as spiritual leader of the Church of England due to a damning review into its handling of a sexual abuse scandal. In her first words since confirmation of her appointment, she said that while the role is a huge responsibility, she feels a sense of peace and trust in God to carry her. And actress Dame Patricia Routledge has died at the age of 96.
My name is Bouquet. B-U-C-K-E-T. No, it's not bucket, it's bouquet.
She was best known for her role in the comedy TV show Keeping Up Appearances, the show which captivated audiences in the 1990s and attracted as many as 13 million viewers at its peak. Her versatility, a word that she did not relish because it implied, she said, not being very good at anything, took her career far beyond the range of TV sitcoms. Those are the latest headlines for now. More from me in an hour, but now it's back to Alex.
Thank you, Sophia, and welcome to GBN Tonight with me, Alex Armstrong. And as you all know, Britain's second city is tonight coming to terms with yesterday's terror attack on a synagogue in which 2 Jewish worshippers sadly lost their lives on what was the holiest day of their holy calendar, Yom Kippur. Well, GB News reporter Will Godley has been at the scene of the attack and brings us this report.
Well, more than 24 hours on from that horrific attack here yesterday morning, the police behind me are still continuing their investigations here at the scene of that attack. They've also been searching the attacker's home today. That is Jahid al-Shami, his home not too far away from here, where we understand he's been living for a number of years now. He, of course, came over from Syria when he was a little boy, now aged 35 years old. Back in 2006, when he was 16 years old, he was granted British citizenship, and he's been living here, a member of this community ever since. But as the police continue their investigations into who exactly this attacker was, we do now understand that he was on police bail for an alleged rape when he carried out this attack here yesterday. That's news just into us. Police continuing their investigations. They've also arrested 3 other people as part of their investigations into this attack. Behind me, people leaving they're leaving tributes, flowers, messages of support for a community here that's grieving as the Shabbat here begins this Friday evening.
Well, joining me now to talk about this story more is Chair of the All-Party Parliamentary Group Against Anti-Semitism, Joannie Reid MP. Thank you so much for joining me. I don't really know where to start. This story has really terrified so many in the Jewish community. I'm a born and bred Londoner from northwest London. A lot of my friends are Jewish. Many of them texted me saying they're scared for their lives, they're scared to go out. Yesterday, the Prime Minister pledged to do everything he could to keep Jewish people safe. But the same evening, we saw 40 arrests in London and hate marches, what I would call them, throughout many cities across the country. Do you think the Prime Minister's doing enough?
Firstly, I think it's really important that the Jewish community feels supported and acknowledged at this time. So it's an incredibly dark time for them. So our thoughts and our prayers are with the whole of the Jewish community across the UK. They have been living in fear for some time now, particularly over the last couple of years. I think that the Prime Minister and the government has done a huge amount to try and support the Jewish community, but obviously more work needs to be done. I don't think you can underestimate the scale of the challenge in this area. anti-Semitism is at record high levels, and you can see it in all aspects of life, not just on the marches. They were extremely unfortunate, and I was very saddened to see those scenes last night. It will not reassure the Jewish community at all. But I'm confident that once the facts become clear of exactly what's happened, and we have cool heads and calm minds, that we can find a way forward that will get to grips with this problem once and for all.
Yeah, I thank you for those good, nice words there. But unfortunately, today, we were all waiting. I was waiting for the Prime Minister, for the Home Secretary, for Yvette Cooper, David Lammy, Sadiq Khan to come out and condemn that protest last night in central London. They were very quick to condemn the Unite the Kingdom rally. 25 people arrested, hundreds of thousands of people attending that. Last night, we saw 40 people arrested for violence on the same night as a terrorist attack against Jewish people, nonetheless. And all the Home Secretary had to say was that she was disappointed. It's been complete silence from Downing Street. No public statements, no podiums. It's beyond disappointing. I think the Jewish community had a right to heckle David Lammy today. What is it? Where is this tough action that the Prime Minister's pledging? It doesn't make sense, does it?
Well, it's not clear at the moment exactly whether the powers the Home Secretary has to stop these protests. I actually think you're directing your fury at the wrong people. We and those of us who work in anti-Semitism and have been for some time have been trying to convince the organisers of these protests, and they have been going on for some time, to condemn anti-Semitism and to train their stewards so that they recognise and can tackle any anti-Semitism that they see, whether it's chants, whether it's on placards, and they have point blank refused to do it. Now, you know as well as all of your viewers that there's a fine line between free speech and hate speech, and that's very tricky for any government to navigate, but it's not for the organisers. And while they absolutely have a legal right to protest, there is a moral and ethical question here, and so I suppose I agree with some of the sentiment of what you're saying, but I don't think it's a simple answer for the government, because they've got to balance these rights.
Well, I understand the element of free speech, and I've been very supportive actually of free speech in this country. I even supported some of the Palestine Action people. I didn't believe they should be arrested, but my tune is changing on that, because I think we do need to actually start being a little bit tougher. My question really was, where is the condemnation of those protests last night? I haven't seen the Prime Minister release a statement. 40 people arrested. Nothing, absolutely nothing from the Prime Minister. Is he letting the country down?
I don't think he's letting the country down. No, he was in Manchester and was showing solidarity.
It stinks of bigotry.
I've spoken to a lot of people across the Jewish community who I've worked with for years and years since Corbyn was leader of the Labour Party. What they want at the moment is support, is comfort, and for us to stand up and say that we will fight anti-Semitism wherever we see it. 40 arrests were made, which shows that the system is working to a certain degree. But making this all about the protests, I think, is kind of missing the point. The problem is much deeper than that, and I think that oversimplifies things. Why are these people protesting? Where are they getting their ideas from? Is it from social media? Is it from schools, universities? The problem, if we're really going to tackle anti-Semitism, which is a problem that's been a scourge for thousands of years, then we're going to have to think more seriously than just how you police protests, which I think is a valid point, and there's a discussion to be had, but it's not an easy answer. Right. And I think the Prime Minister has done the right thing by focusing on supporting the Jewish community at the moment, in this moment of huge grief.
Unfortunately, I agree with many of the sentiments you're making there, but I think it's exposed a hell of an amount of bigotry on the Labour front bench today, where we've had zero public declarations, zero letters, zero podiums condemning far-left thuggery on the streets, when we had it for far less arrests just a few weeks ago. And unfortunately, I think many people will be looking at that and going, this is extremely disappointing a day after a terrorist attack against Jewish people, when that protest was really in my opinion, extremely anti-Semitic. But we'll have to disagree on that point there, unfortunately. Joni Reid MP, thank you for joining me, Chair of the All-Party Parliamentary Group Against Anti-Semitism. Thank you very much for joining me this evening. I'll bring in my panel here. I've got Chairman of Global Britain UK, Aman Bogle, and journalist and political commentator Matthew Stadlen. Aman, I'll come to you because I was really expecting today the Prime Minister and the Labour Party had an opportunity to prove to this country that they're fair, that they're fair and they're firm. The Prime Minister yesterday morning said he would do everything he can to protect Jewish people. I've got Jewish friends coming from quite a Jewish area of northwest London where I was born, who are terrified. And to see those protests happening, many of them with jubilation last night, some of the disgusting videos, and the Prime Minister today couldn't even come out and condemn those protests.
Indeed, I think this is absolute Janus-faced hypocrisy from the Prime Minister down throughout the whole cabinet. But look, today is a day, I think, when we needed a Suella Braverman as Home Secretary. And what we got is a self-avowed daughter of Kashmir, Shabana Mahmood. Right, we've got a London mayor, a failed Labour London mayor who's AWOL. Where is he in all of this? He could have stopped all of this. We have a Home Secretary who has spent years pushing sectarian activism. And we have a Prime Minister who was only praised by Hamas last week for recognising a state of Palestine that doesn't exist, rewarding terror. So what can British Jews expect from this bunch? Well,
Matthew, I think this is my point. It stinks of bigotry, what we've seen today. Well, the silence stinks of bigotry. You know, the Prime Minister, Sadiq